Let's talk conspiracy theory, culture, and the human soul right now on Gen X News. Good afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you are. Here I am. Oh my goodness. Okay. So I'm going to put a little message on the bottom for you guys because I've got a lot of changes happening. So the show is going to go on hiatus for a few weeks because I'm going to be renovating this whole area. It's going to be changing. I have a new project, which I will let everybody know eventually. It's secret right now. But so we'll be back. This is our last show. It's kind of like a summer break because I've got so much to organize. So this is going to be our last show until I believe I put down the 22nd of June. That's a Sunday. So we'll do a Conspiracy Sunday that day. I have some mini documentaries that I've made. So I may upload some of those to YouTube and to Rumble in the meantime. Get some stuff on there. Just keep something alive. But I'm establishing a whole new thing going on, which is like totally different direction. Totally different, but is something part of my personality, part of things that I do that's totally different from conspiracy theory and news. So, and yeah, and Twitter is, I don't know, X is going crazy. We're streaming right there now live to X. We're also streaming on Rumble and YouTube, and you can go ahead and subscribe to those platforms simply by visiting the website at genxonx.com. All the links are right there. Of course, genxonx.com. But of course, today we got an interesting show. It's a two-parter. The first part, we're going to be streaming for about 40 minutes. Terence McKenna. I don't know if you know who Terence McKenna is, but we're going to be streaming some of his lectures quickly because he had some dire warnings for the future back in the 90s, maybe even before he died, just before he died. And I believe he died early 2000s. Yeah, he died in 2000. So we're going to check that out. The second half of the show, which is going to start roughly around 8:30 Eastern, 5:30, no, 7:30 Eastern. Yeah, I gotta do my math. I have a guest coming on. I have Bill Dozer. He does a wonderful channel on YouTube. I will get him to plug that channel. He's doing the news. I suggest you go subscribe to Bill Dozer on Rumble, not on Rumble. His Rumble channel is awesome. Type in Bill Dozer. Please go subscribe to him. I will not be around for a few weeks because I'm going crazy in here. And I suggest you watch his new shows because he does about 3 or 4 of them a week, and they're fantastic. I'll be watching him. Let's see who's in the chat. Jonaside. I just watched something on him a couple days ago. Yeah, we're going to be doing the stream, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to talk about it. But for those of you who don't know who Terence McKenna is, he was an American ethnobotanist and a mystic who advocated for the responsible use of naturally occurring psychedelic plants and mushrooms. He spoke and wrote about a variety of subjects, including psychedelics, plant-based ethnogens, shamanism, metaphysics, alchemy, language. His stuff on language is very interesting. Philosophy, culture, technology. We're focusing more on language, culture, technology today. He was called Timothy Leary of the 90s, one of the leading authorities on ontological foundations of shamanism and intellectual voice of rave culture. So we're going to go into it because he made some very interesting predictions. He was born in Paonia, Colorado. It looks like a sweet, nice little town too. He has books out. You can Google him. You can look him up on YouTube. He is all over there. His brother often appears on the Joe Rogan podcast, so you can check that out. He's a McKenna. I think his name is Dennis McKenna is his brother. That's it. His brother often appears on Joe Rogan show, so you can check him out. I don't know if he has the same views, but unfortunately, I believe Terence died of a brain tumor in early 2000s, and we're going to check out some. First, we're going to go into an interview the last interview he did, and then we have another clip, and we're going to talk about this because I think he is a shaman. He is a visionary. Let's use the word visionary because he's talking about right now and how crazy things are. And unlike someone like, say, the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, he wasn't like, hey, technology's getting crazy, let's go whack everybody. He was just sort of accepting of it, like it's gonna get crazy. And I think one of the things he really stressed that I remember is this need to form your own subcultures, which you got to be careful because that stuff can turn into cults. I mean, my goodness, you got to be careful. So let's talk about Terence McKenna. This one's a 4-minute clip. Then we're going to go into another clip that's longer, and then hopefully we'll have our intermission, and then we'll bring Bill into the show, and we're going to talk, I want to talk about Palantir and whatever Bill thinks. We're going to go politics, and that'll be the show, and then we'll wrap it up. I just want to thank you guys before we get in this. I won't be around for a few weeks. I want to thank everybody for showing up, who's ever watched the show. Sundays, I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but I will let you know. You guys can come over to my new project if you see fit or not. We'll see where it goes. But let's focus on this chaotic times and things getting crazier and discuss whether this is relevant to what we're doing today. What's going on? What's happening? Check it out.
We have 14 years until this event, measured on the calendar. And a really common, ordinary way to describe the times that we're living in is that they're very, very chaotic, filled with acts of unspeakable evil, and at the same time, there's this sort of buzz and thrust of optimism, everything from a guy like Peter Schwartz talking about the long wave, the big booming economy, breakthroughs in educational levels and qualities of life, but it's definitely a dynamic where you've got extremes of good and evil in that way. Could you talk a little bit about the relationship between that dynamic as we go forward and the novelty continues to climax?
Well, novelty is not necessarily good or nice. Novelty is complex. That's what it is. And so I see really a concatenation of tendencies and forces here at the end. It's only going to get weirder. The level of contradiction is going to rise excruciatingly, even beyond the excruciating present levels of contradiction. I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. And at that point, novelty theory can come out of the woods, because eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's just too nuts. It's not enough to say it's nuts.
Or they chop
you
off
have to
their
explain
nuts.
why it's so nuts. So between now and 2012, the next 14 years, I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, and at the same time, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, race baiting, homophobia, famine, starvation, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The collapse of the socialist world, the rise of the internet, these are changes so immense, nobody could imagine them ever happening. And now that they have happened, nobody even bothers to mention what a big deal it is. The fact that there is no such thing as the Soviet Union, people never talk about it anymore. But when I was a kid, the notion that that would ever change was beyond conceiving. So the good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable to change. Put us in a desert, we survive. Put us in the jungle, we survive.
This is so phenomenal what he's saying. Can you, I don't know if you can relate to it. I certainly can relate to it. And he's talking, right up till 2012. This was one of his last interviews before he passed away. And I would say there was changes, happening till 2012. But I was saying 2012 is just when this stuff's getting warmed up and we're starting to see it. Clearly 2015 was a massive year where some kind of switch flipped, and the World Economic Forum and globalists really start showing their face and their cards. And then 2020, steroids, craziness. And hopefully when Bill comes on, we will be able to discuss the Palantir plans and how Donald Trump plans to have Palantir come in and do its work on databases, basically tracking every American. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. But let's finish this off, and then we'll go into the next documentary.
Under Hitler, we survive. Under Nixon, we survive. We can put up with about anything, and it's a good thing because we're going...
Yes, but many did not survive. Under those people, many people died under Hitler. Many people died under the Bolsheviks. So we don't know what's going to happen with this AI unleashed, all these wars, the shifting and the change in political power. We have no idea where this is going to go. I find it a little more terrifying than exciting, but buckle up, baby. It's a roller coaster ride, and we have no idea what the outcome is. It's like we're in it. It's happening. We have to go through the chaos. Order out of chaos, I guess. Here we go.
Going to be tested to the limits. The breakdown of anything, and this is why the right wing is so alarmed, because what they see going on is the breakdown of all tradition, all order, all sanctioned norms of behavior. And they're quite right that it's happening, but they're quite wrong to conclude that it should be resisted or is somehow evil. The mushroom said...
I kind of disagree with him on that one. It is evil because it could be the undoing of humans as we know it. And that's what he doesn't interpret here. I disagree with him. You could interpret it as good if you think transhumanism is good and not having a job is good, and the white European race almost being depleted. You could think it's good, but for tradition, for family, for what makes humans, I don't think it's good at all.
To me once, it said, this is what it's like when a species prepares to depart for the stars. You don't depart for the stars under calm and orderly conditions. It's a fire in a madhouse. And that's what we have, the fire in the madhouse at the end of time. This is what it's like when a species prepares to move on to the next dimension. The entire destiny of all life on the planet is tied up in this. We are not acting for ourselves or from ourselves. We happen to be the point species on a transformation that will affect every living organism on this planet at its conclusion.
Wow. So really profound that he was saying it, and he, like I said, he died in 2000, so I think he did this in 1999. He was suffering from a brain tumor here. And as you know, I said that Terence McKenna was huge into psychedelics, mushrooms, DMT, kind of experimentation. It's almost like communing with another form of life, with basically a consciousness that shows you things you can't see in this realm. And I don't know if that's what the tech bros are doing, because we could argue here that we're actually just going more authoritarian, that the deep state that we have in America and all over the planet now is really the tech bros. The tech bros are the deep state. And whew, boy, is it good. It is going to get weird. And you guys tell me in the comments what you think is the most scary of or frightening or intimidating or shocking that you never saw happen, that would happen. What do you see happening out there where you are in your country or the country I'm from, Canada, that I don't live in anymore? I don't even recognize it. I have no idea what country that is, because it's not the Canada that I was born in. It is the most bizarre feeling. And I think my personal opinion, it might be different from Terence McKenna's, but the only way to get through this is if you have a really strong identification of yourself outside of your nation. If you are solely tied to just your nation, I think this could make everybody crumble, because the goal is no nation. And that you can ideologically surmise that as wonderful, like we're all going to love each other, but we know that's not how it's going to be. And for me personally, I have to have this really strong sense of myself as an individual just to get through this, so I can even remember what being a Canadian is. I no longer live in Canada. It is so crazy. Anyways, let's go on to the next part of this documentary. I'm going to do the full one. I wanted to play that first because he specifically talks about how things are going to get weirder and weirder. We're saying, what is going on? What is happening? Like, what has happened to our world? And I think one of the reasons we saw that speed up post 2015 is the silent generation began to pass away a lot. There's a lot of deaths. And once that generation leaves the main work field, once that generation starts sort of dying off, the energy shifts on the planet. Their consciousness is gone. Their influence on how the structure has been shaped is gone, and you're only left with the newer generations. So that's and I could feel it. I worked with seniors, and I could feel them, like I could feel the energy changing on the planet. And I was like, what's going on? And I'm like, oh yeah, the older generations, that one generation that was a really strong, powerful generation, is dwindling out. And if you're smart enough, you can feel that change. And boy, could I ever. All right, so we're going to go into this one here. 1998 prediction. This is 24 minutes long. We'll go through this one. We're going to take an intermission, and then hopefully Bill will be in, and we're going to get into politics. So let's go for this one. Predictions about today's world from Terence McKenna.
We are about to take the step out of matter. It's only going to get weirder. The level of contradiction is going to rise excruciatingly, even beyond the excruciating present levels of contradiction. I think it's just going to get weirder and...
Comment from the audience, just going to pause that. Illyria from the audience said, as a wise man said, when push comes to shove, hate will come to the rescue of love. Interesting. Very interesting. All right.
Weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's just too nuts. It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. It is under the sway of what I call the transcendental object at the end of time. The planet is on a collision course with the most profound event it's possible to imagine, the freeing of organic life from the chrysalis of matter. For 1 billion years there's been life on this planet, but never life that could step outside of matter. But this is obviously what's in the cards. Processes are now in play which so totally rewrite the script that no one can imagine.
So Terence is talking about not just a transition of chaos, but a transition where life separates from matter, that it can step away from the physical. And I don't know if you can comprehend that or envision that or understand what that means. It seems foreign to a lot of people, but it seems very spiritual in nature. And I think because he's done these journeys with the ayahuasca journeys, DMT, the mushrooms, that kind of psychedelic stuff, I think that's where he was getting his wisdom and his information from some source outside of, the source that we have. And we are so surrounded by this manipulation and brainwashing of media. It's even in the podcasts on the internet. We're so surrounded and controlled by ways we don't know, myself included. I'm not free from that, even though I talk about that on my podcast. I've never done DMT. When I was really young, I did do acid, but that's like a man-made chemical kind of thing. I was like 18 and I did it a couple times, and then I just said, no, I'm done with that. Don't like that. Not enough control for me. It just, it's crazy. But he's doing these shamanistic journeys, and he's bringing back to us these messages. So let's continue on.
He predicted everything. And when you realize this interview was filmed back in 1998, it's downright astonishing.
In a world flooded with AI, you need to focus on what helps you.
In those quiet moments on tape, he laid out ideas that perfectly foresaw how our everyday lives would spiral into chaos. Month after month, year after year. Things keep getting weirder, and we all...
Okay, let's pause this because we have another really good comment from Illyria in the audience. She says, hate shows us what we do not want, and it serves to protect what we love from destruction. It has an important purpose. We have been told to dismiss it. Now others are directing our hate instead of us. Interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that.
Notice it. And if everything he predicted comes true, it'll only get weirder. But his explanation now makes perfect sense. This is one of my favorite talks because just when you think it's a relic of the past, you see that what he said is exactly what we live every day. It's truly eye-opening.
So what we have here is a new model of time based on a very real intuition that I think most people share, which is that time is speeding up, that human beings are part of that process, and that the culmination of that process is now within the ven of historical time. Whether you believe, as I do, that we can know the precise moment of this transformation of the world of time, or whether you believe it is simply coming soon and fast, really doesn't make that much difference. We are all gathered here at the end game of developmental processes on this planet. We are about to become unrecognizable to ourselves as a species. Our technologies, our religions, our science has pushed us toward this for thousands of years without us awakening to what the denouement would be. Now we stand close enough to it that I think all but the most lumpen among us must feel the tug of the transcendental and the transformative.
Time isn't just marching on, it seems to be sprinting. Think about it. Back when everything was slower, a day might have felt long and full of possibilities. Now each second is crammed with changes, challenges, and breakthroughs, as if the clock's hand are blurred by the sheer rush of events unfolding around us. It's like the universe turned the dial up to 11. Every moment feels loaded with a world of activity and possibility that we can barely keep up with. And that's exactly where things start to get wild. Just when you think you've grasped the pace, the surprise is lurking around the corner. Ready or not, we're about to see what happens when this race against time spills over into something even more extraordinary.
I am very perplexed when you say that time is speeding up. As far as I can tell, such things as crystal oscillators.
Can you guys feel it? Can you guys feel time going faster and faster and faster? It's like, yes, there's time where we go around the planet, but it's almost like the speeding up of information and the speeding up of technology actually makes time go faster. So we're trying to beat things. We're literally trying to, beat time, go faster, save more time. And it's like, you can't fool me. I'm going to go faster, and I'm going to go faster, and your mind's going to go crazier and crazier and crazier. You don't control anything, silly humans. That's what I feel like it's saying to us. So let's continue.
There's things which keep time, clocks, the relationship of the earth turning to the calendar, the full moon, all of the things which are symptoms of our passage through time don't seem to be throwing themselves out of kilter. So how do you really mean about time speeding up?
Well, let me answer in the form of a question. Which lasts longer? 1,000,000 years in which nothing happens, or 10 seconds with 50,000 events crammed into it? What I mean really is that more and more is happening. More and more is happening. And if you ask the question, well, what would be the ultimate state of connectivity or of happening? It's when all points are connected to all other points. Somehow this concept of connectivity is intimately linked to the concept of complexity. And so really what I'm saying is that the universe is getting its act together. It's connecting the dots. It's bringing everything into co-relationship with everything else. And somehow it does this through the production of consciousness. Consciousness is this integrative function in biology which takes data which may appear profoundly unrelated, and in fact brings it into some kind of a congruent relationship. We say an organism coordinates a point of view. Well, in a way, what's happening over time is that the universe is coordinating a point of view. And as it does this, it becomes somehow more aware, more self-conscious, more being-like and less thing-like. And as I said, this process is not proceeding at a steady pace. It's proceeding faster and faster. More connectivity occurs now in a calendar year than occurred in 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years ago.
This makes so much sense. Our familiar timekeepers, clocks, calendars, the Earth's rotation haven't changed at all. Yet our experience of time feels radically different. As we mature, we all sense that time is speeding up. But it's not just a trick of aging. Today, every moment is jam-packed with events. And it's not just mundane stuff like to-do lists. It's real, world-shaking events. Look at the past 5 years. Just imagine where we'll be in 5, 10, or even 50 years. It's overwhelming, to say the least. And here's where it really gets interesting. While it might seem like he's simply talking about time running faster, he's actually hinting at something even more profound. A kind of ultimate climax or eschaton that's yet to unfold. If you think you've wrapped your head around just how fast things are changing right now, just wait until we dig even deeper into what he's saying later. This is one of the most eye-opening interviews I've ever listened to. It doesn't just make you think about the passing of time, it challenges you to imagine a future where everything as we know it is about to be completely transformed.
A really common, ordinary way to describe the times that we're living in is that they're very, very chaotic, filled with acts of unspeakable evil, and at the same time, there's this sort of buzz and thrust of optimism, everything from a guy like Peter Schwartz talking about the long wave, the big booming economy, breakthroughs and educational levels and qualities of life, but it's different.
But it's interesting that they're saying all the breakthroughs in the education, but at the same time, we're seeing people who are graduating who can't read or write properly. We're seeing certain systems collapsing. It's almost like you have to educate yourself. Like you have to be self-directed. You have to be independent. You have to get out of this system that is controlling things. We have someone who's saying Earth is spinning faster. It's like speeding stuff up to get us through a fever. It's an intelligent being we are living not on. All old cultures knew this. This planet, we're living in a being. It's freeing us from a fever. And I guess that involves a lot of destruction. which is scary. When you're a little thing like us roaming around on the planet like you're a giant god. But yeah, so it's like we have to be self-directed, and that can be really hard if you get stuck on your phone arguing on X, and which I'm going to be off X for a while too, just so you guys know. I've had it. It's the whole raise your vibration thing, Incognito says. Absolutely 100%. Uh-huh. It's crazy. Paul from Newcastle's here. Thank you, Paul from Newcastle. We're going to continue the documentary, but it's literally talking about how things are changing, things are getting better, but at the same time, things are falling apart. It is an anomaly, to say the least.
Definitely a dynamic where you've got extremes of good and evil in that way. Would you talk a little bit about the relationship between that dynamic as we go forward and the novelty continues to climax?
Well, novelty is not necessarily good or nice. Novelty is complex. That's what it is. And so I see really a concatenation of tendencies.
I find novelty to be unstable. Like, there's something unstable about novelty, and seductive and alluring and not reliable, because it's novel and then you're just going to discard it. It's highly narcissistic to be appealed to novelty all the time, and it's not good for relationships or families either.
And forces here at the end, it's only going to get weirder. The level of contradiction is going to rise excruciatingly, even beyond the excruciating present levels of contradiction. I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
Like
and
we're
at
talking
that point,
right now.
Novelty theory can come out of the woods, because eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's just too nuts. It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. I look for the invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, possible human immortality, and at the same time, appalling acts of brutality, genocide, race baiting, homophobia, famine, starvation, because the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed. The collapse of the socialist world, the rise of the internet, these are changes so immense, nobody could imagine them ever happening. And now that they have happened, nobody even bothers to mention what a big deal it is. The fact that there is no such thing as the Soviet Union, people never talk about it anymore. But when I was a kid, the notion that that would ever change was beyond conceiving. So the good news is that as primates, we're incredibly adaptable.
The best way to attract high-ticket coaching clients is not to spend all your time and money on social media content.
We're so adaptable.
To change. Put us in a desert, we
commercial
survive.
changes.
Put us in the jungle, we survive. We can put up with about anything, and it's a good thing because we're going to be tested to the limits.
Think of our current times as a storm of extremes.
To the limit.
On
Look
one
at how
hand,
crazy
there's
it is.
undeniable chaos,
Everything's
acts
crazy.
of cruelty, violence, and things that shake us to our core.
And the thing is, I want to pause it here. It is crazy. And it doesn't matter which political party you vote for. You got Kamala and hoes twerking and billions of dollars on the Democrat side. You got politicians mouthing each other off on X like you would have never seen before. You got CIA, Mossad, French intelligence. You got war over here. You got war with Israel, you got Iran, all this crazy stuff. You've got the transgender stuff and the surgeries. You got Canada. People are homeless and they're shifting people all over the world. They're moving millions of people into Canada, trying to make it have 100 million people. You've got Palantir trying to do crazy stuff. The tech bros trying to push AI more and more and more. Layoffs. People are confused. They don't know what's going on. Like, it's super, like, on both sides. And I guarantee you, no matter what, who we would have voted for, the same outcome would have happened. They just brand it with a different name. Like, for instance, they're calling them 15-minute cities or smart cities, right? And that's what the World Economic Forum and the left kept calling them. But then you have Trump. He's in here going, freedom cities, and people are cheering it. And I'm like, hey, I'm a conservative in most aspects, but doesn't that sound a lot like a 15-minute city to you? And people are like, you're crazy. I'm like, no, dude, that's like a 15-minute city. Have fun, but I don't want to be in one. Anyways, let's keep going, because it is going to get crazier, and I suspect in the next 5 years we won't even recognize who we are. Let's see.
On the other hand, there's a palpable surge of hope. Breakthrough innovations, improved education, economic booms, and the promise of a brighter future. It might seem like these forces are at odds, but they're actually two sides of the same coin. What he's pointing out is that this mix of overwhelming challenges and exhilarating progress isn't random. Instead, it's part of a larger process. As more events and experiences pile up, the universe itself seems to be nudging us towards a major transformation. In simple terms, the very chaos we witness is setting the stage for a powerful shift, a tipping point that will redefine how we live and connect with one another. This tension between dark and light, disruption and renewal, is exactly what might propel us into a new era. And that's the big question. How will these opposing forces shape our future?
I want to go to this stuff about the strange attractor at the end of history.
Right.
Never ever, considered that notion that we are being pulled as opposed to simply just going on forever and ever. And that's for sure something that people are going to go.
To
What the
another
universe
galaxy.
is doing is it is under the sway of what I call the transcendental object at the end of time. And that is this domain of hyperconnectivity, that it would be perfect novelty. And all nature aspires for this state of perfect novelty. You could almost say that nature abhors habit, and so it seeks the novel by producing various kinds of phenomena at every level in biology, chemistry, and society. And so there really is a purpose to the universe. Its purpose is this state of hypercomplexification in which all of its points become related to each other, become what mathematicians call cotangent. And it gives the universe the feeling of being imbued with a caring presence. It makes it appear as though nature is tending toward something, and it changes our own ethical and moral position in the universe. Because, science tells us that we're the products of a cosmic accident. We're at the edge of an ordinary galaxy in an ordinary star system, and we're damn lucky to be here. And that's it. That's our place, a very existential notion of our place in the cosmos. The purpose of being a human is to complexify reality even more, to hand on a more diverse, more complicated, more multifaceted universe to our children. And when this process of complexification reaches the omega point, it will fulfill, I believe, the expectations of all of these religions, but it will fulfill it in a mature, scientific, and universal way.
So that's an interesting thing to say, that the universe will fulfill all the expectations of religions. It's almost like revelation. And what I see is a lot of religion trying to do this self-fulfilling prophecy. I think that's what Israel is trying to do right now, is they're trying to get in there, build their temple, do their stuff. Maybe Islam has some kind of philosophy. Christians are like, oh, the second coming of Christ, revelation. I think religions are literally trying to fulfill their own beliefs. And that really dictates things that we're doing. I don't think it necessarily has to be this way, but I think it is this way. We have a comment here before we go on. He said, did anyone notice the Mandela effect where Earth moved galactic arms? I did not. You'd have to elaborate on that one. And we also have Ilya saying, AI is never going to be conscious. It's a program. But they may use this idea to blame AI for some of the crap they have planned. They're pushing it for a reason. That's right. They're going to be like, AI did it. AI 3 guys in all them smart cities. Just forget about it. We'll just do away with AI. It's one of those things, Elon Musk, who there's something weird going on with Elon, because he was looking weird at the White House the other day. But he was saying that we've already reached singularity with AI, and I don't know if that's true. I think they're trying to hype the crap up. I don't know. I use ChatGPT once in a while, and even it will write things out for me, and I will go, God, that feels dead. That feels so gay. That's not me. And I don't mean gay against gay people. I just mean that's so rigid. I got to spice it up a little bit. I got to put myself into it. Anyways, it's weird. It's weird, but it's not conscious. I don't know. Maybe it could turn into hell and like start trying to take us out. I don't know. We'll see. Let's continue with this documentary here.
Now hold on a moment. He talks about the process of complexification, how everything in our world becomes more intricate and connected over time until it all converges into one grand unified state. Imagine starting with something simple, like a single cell. Over time, that cell replicates and forms a complex organism. Now scale that idea up. As individual events, ideas, and people connect more deeply, our society becomes an enormous network, a living, breathing web of relationships and data. From a scientific perspective,
but it's not alive. That network is false. And I discovered this when I went off X for the week and I wasn't on the internet as much. I was out in life. I felt better. But when you're on X, there's tons of bots. There's tons of fake stuff. And it's not real connectivity. It's fake. We're literally turning into zombies tapping, and we're not really connecting. You literally have to get out and do real things in nature with real people. So that this internet connectivity isn't real. It's not the real connectivity that human beings need. And I think it's breeding a lot of the mental illness. I think this type of connectivity that we're facilitating, expanding, and growing is actually breeding all of the crazy that we're like, look, it's getting crazier and crazier because the internet's breeding it. It's not normal. It's not a healthy form. There's something amiss about it, if you understand what I mean.
Perspective. Think of it like a network that grows more interconnected with every new link, eventually reaching a point where every node is linked to every other node. It's the same way our understanding of the universe evolved, from simple particles to the vast complexity of life and consciousness as we see it today. Now, if we look at it from a more spiritual or symbolic viewpoint, there's a striking parallel to biblical imagery. Consider Revelation 21:4, which he says, "He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying of pain, for the old order of things has passed away."
Revelation.
This passage speaks of an end, an ultimate transformation, where everything that came before is redefined, much like his idea of reaching the omega point. That is, the culminating moment when all complexity and connectivity converge into a new transcendent state. In short, our world is in a constant process of building up, layer upon layer of complexity that will eventually lead us to an ultimate transformation. Whether seen through the lens of science, technology, or spirituality, the message is clear. We're hurtling towards a moment when the accumulated change reaches a tipping point, rewriting the rules of existence as we know them. And if you think that's wild now, just wait until we explore what this means for our future.
But several factors are on the horizon which I think can be brought together to sort of get a picture of what we're headed toward. One is for some time now, we've been involved in building complex prostheses, which we call machines and computers. They are part of us. We don't perceive them as part of us because we identify with the flesh and exteriorize the the fabricated metal. But in fact, they are a part of us as much as our political systems, our agriculture production systems, so forth and so on. So we are extending ourselves through the machines. Well, one of the things that these machines do is they're time compressors. You know, you and I sitting here talking are operating at about 100 hertz. If we could be magically downloaded into a top-of-the-line computer, we would run at 800 megahertz. That means we could do 800 million more things in this moment than we can do when we're wearing flesh. So it may be that we will find a way to technologically stretch time, and this will become for us like a false eternity. You may have only 10 minutes left in your life, but
it'll feel like forever, like Groundhog Day. We had someone mentioning that in the chat. Paul from Newcastle was talking about Groundhog Day. It'll be like Groundhog Day. It'll be stretching it out, but I don't think it'll be enjoyable.
It may be time enough to pack in all of human history from the fall of Rome to the present moment. So we are finding ways out of the three-dimensional Newtonian prison, which says, you know, life is narrow and confined and ends at the grave. And we're doing it by becoming information that is freed from...
That's what I was saying earlier. It's about the information going faster and faster. It's whether or not our brains can handle it. I think that's where the mental health issues are coming from. Our minds are like, no, I can't handle it. And let's think about Elon's Neuralink and what is that going to do? What are they going to do? Maybe Elon isn't even invented it. Maybe Elon is contracted with the CIA or different agencies in the government, the deep state, and he's just the front face. And they're like, yeah, let's do this stuff. Let's have our ultimate warrior. Let's have our ultimate humans. And we're going to compress everything into that one space in your mind so you can just go out and take out everything. It's going to be really weird. I almost hope I'm not alive for it because I don't want it in my head. But this whole idea that we're literally free from material and it's all just information, it kind of is like, you know, we'll have nothing and we'll be happy. I don't know. Should we embrace it? I don't know. I like the physical world.
Material. And somehow this allows us to make this ascent to the next dimensional modality.
There's also the theory that these tech bros and these organizations are trying to imitate that. It's like a faux ascension of reality. They're trying to mimic something that we could do organically by meditation. They're trying to copy it and own it and control it in an authoritarian way, which sounds rather diabolical.
Information is not time and space constrained the way we are. We talk about the difficulty of moving an object at the speed of light. Our entire planetary technology cannot achieve moving a marble at the speed of light, but we can move information at the speed of light. Terabytes of it. We do this every day. We are about to take the step out of matter. The planet is on a collision course with the most profound event it's possible to imagine. The freeing of organic life from the chrysalis of matter. For 1 billion years there's been life on this planet, but never life that could step outside of matter. But this is obviously what's in the cards, and we are privileged to be central to that event.
We're on the brink of stepping beyond the physical confines of our existence. For centuries, our lives have revolved around tangible matter, our bodies, the weight of our objects, the slow march of physical processes. But everything is changing. Today, information travels at the speed of light, and our technology is beginning to free that information from its material chain. Our world is no longer limited by the traditional three-dimensional space that once defined us. Instead, we're moving toward a future where our ideas, memories, and even aspects of our consciousness can exist in a digital, almost limitless realm.
The question is And the title is this, a lot of this is ideologically based. And is that ideology real? You know, Terence McKenna does talk about that creative forces of the universe doesn't understand what ideology is. Its goal is to constantly expand and create. That's why, you know, there's a mental illness when people don't want to have family, they don't have babies, they want to keep their genes going. There's something else at work here besides the force of the universe, because the universe is always about creation. Always. It's interesting. And so I don't know what's going on. I have a feeling that we're being lured into some faux pseudo matrix creativity that's not the real thing. That's not the real transition. But that's just me. I'm suspicious anyways by nature. So let's keep going.
Science supports this vision. The faster we process and exchange information, the more we blur the line between the physical and the virtual. Our digital devices, acting as extensions of ourselves, are already transforming how we interact with the world. And as these advancements continue, the constraints that once held us back, gravity, inertia, the slow pace of biological time, may soon become relics of the past. But stop for a moment. Is this really the world we're headed toward? Consider Elon Musk's Neuralink, the ubiquity of ChatGPT, and the constant chatter about AI this and AI that. Do we ever pause to ask, where will we be in the next 50 years? Unlike his Can You Imagine the World in 500 Years challenge, which is nearly impossible to fathom, we're forced to confront that everything is not only speeding up, but accelerating into an even more chaotic, unpredictable future. And honestly, that's pretty scary. These times are unsettling. The relentless pace of change can feel overwhelming, as if there's no escape from the rapid surge of technology.
We have a comment from the audience saying, religion is control, they're invented to control us. And I think we're seeing a new religion emerging with all this tech stuff that, again, is a control system that doesn't allow us to really expand out of our bodies. Not real, it actually just puts shit in our bodies and traps us. and just controls us more. I'm not so sure. It has its benefits. Like, we're sitting here having this conversation. I suppose you could all be NPCs and not real or bots, but here we are having this conversation. It has its positives. But I always say, come to my podcast, hang up, take your dog for a walk, go out in the park, do stiff with your children, read a real storybook physically to your child. You know what I mean? Eat some healthy food, clean your house, do a family event, go for a swim in the river. I don't know, whatever it is you want to do.
In transformation. Yet, if everything he describes is the unfolding will of the universe, or God, maybe this acceleration is exactly how it's meant to be. I don't have all the answers. All I know is this. We're hurtling towards a future where the old rules no longer apply, and that future is both thrilling and daunting. It challenges us to keep questioning and seeking meaning in a world where change is the only constant.
So the whole entire Milky Way galaxy is a being?
Well, it's an organism, yes. The galaxy is a kind of an organism. You can think of it as a fractal resonance with a cell. The galaxy has a nucleus of very dense material where very mysterious processes are going on. Then it has a cytoplasmic envelope of stars and gas clouds that surround that core. And then it is an individual, very distinctly defined by the vast emptiness that lies between it and the next galaxy. Every star is a data point in an enormous computer simulation of the novelty wave. That's why it has that spiral structure. You know, scientists are very puzzled that the galaxies don't fly apart. They don't seem to have enough mass that their gravitation should hold them together. And there's been a lot of talk about dark matter or some missing factor. Well, the missing factor is novelty. The galaxy stays together because the galaxy wants to be a galaxy. So everything organizes itself fractally, spirally, with a dense center in its spatial domain and a dense center in its temporal domain. We are like this. Galaxies are like this. Planets, stars, bird flocks, coral reefs. But in the case of the galaxy, it's particularly easy to observe the structure because the thing is so huge that its forces dominate and damp out other forces which might distort it.
Time's not just flying, it's sprinting. Days blur, news cycles spin, and every hour packs in what used to take years. Clocks haven't changed, but we have. Life's getting louder, faster, weirder, and yeah, it's exhausting.
Babylonier.
This chaos isn't random.
Babylonier?
It's the universe tightening its grip, pulling us towards a breakthrough.
Oh.
Think of it like a storm. Storms aren't here to wreck things. They're here to clear the air.
They
Right
do
now,
wreck things.
Everything feels upside down. Old systems crumble, new ideas clash, and the future is a blur. But hidden in this mess is a pattern. More people connecting. More ideas colliding. More
Are they really
possibility.
connecting though?
It's like the world's building a puzzle we can't see yet. And every piece, even the scary ones, snap us closer to the finish. We're built for this. Humans adapt. We've survived ice ages, wars, pandemics. Now, we're facing a different kind of test. Keeping up with a world that won't stop changing. The endpoint? A world so connected, so alive with collaboration, that the old limit...
I'm going to stop it there. We're going to end it. That's ideological right there. What he's saying to me, it's like a world so connected. It's a fantasy. It's so great. That sounds like some evil villain's got his idea. He doesn't realize he's an evil villain. He has his idea of this perfect fantasy. And we just got to slaughter a whole bunch of people like a hurricane to do it because we're going to clear the air here. It sounds like this. And people are resisting it because they know it means massive death. It's like war. People don't want their children to die in war. They don't want war because it destroys things. But yes, life does come out of it. But at what cost? And what's the next step? Because it seems to me like it's more and more control. It's more and more control. I don't know that you can say the universe is shifting and doing this. We're doing it. We're on the planet. We're on this little tiny bubble. Is the universe even aware? Is it God? Is it us? Are we playing God? I don't know. But it's really interesting how Terence McKenna, as we showed in the first video, has predicted things are going to get strange. He predicted this back in 1998. That's 27 years before anything ever really, today, before 2015. Like it's decades before what we're experiencing now with AI. When he said that in 98, the internet was like dial-up. Like seriously. When I started listening to Terence McKenna on the internet, 2006, 2005, he had already passed on of a brain tumor. But he saw all this. And I'm sure his journey with ayahuasca revealed this to him. And I'm sure that the CIA and all these intelligence agencies have experienced with these same, experimented and done stuff with these same drugs and know these things. You got your MK Ultra, you got all your program stuff that we don't even know. They probably have technology they've had for 40 years that we don't even know about yet, that they could unleash. They have to protect it because once people know it and it gets out, it's no longer cutting edge, right? Anyways, so we're going to go on a little intermission in a few minutes. That's Terence McKenna in a nutshell. You can go and find so much about him on YouTube, so many documentaries, so many things about him talking about. A lot of it is about the sort of journey that you would take with plants and psychedelics. But he also talks about environmentalism, shamanism, and, if you're more conservative, it might not be your thing. But another thing that's coming up is treating mental illness, microdosing it with some of these kind of DMT-esque like medications. I'm more like, I try to do everything chemical free and just be healthy. and diet. And I honestly believe that a lot of our mental health issues are coming from the technology that we're using, whether it's vaccinations, the radio waves, the technology, the spraying of chemicals in the air. I think that is actually interrupting the real system. I think we used to be a lot more psychic. We used to be a lot more intuitive, and we're less because we're using these technologies. The fact that we write everything down now and we read books and we chronicleize and we database everything. I think just that process of starting to do that in Europe took away from our psychic intuitive abilities. I think it used to be more natural for us to sense stuff and know things even in the future. You can go look at this with the CIA experimenting. What was it? What's his name? He was just on Joe Rogan. Darn it. And they're experimenting with this sort of remote viewing. And there are people who can seriously do it. And it's a real thing. And technology makes it harder for us to do it. Our brains get lazy. Everything gets conditioned. So remember that. We are going to go now to our intermission. So 7 to 10 minutes. You guys can get up. I'm going to get up, go to the bathroom, have a drink and everything. Hopefully, Bill will be here. He's putting his son down. I just got a message from him. Hopefully, he'll be here. We'll get into politics. It's going to get a little less fantasy-based. I know. That's okay. It's all good. But I want to talk about Glenn Greenwald, Palantir. They got some devious stuff. We could talk about Singularity Point, Elon on ketamine, Hal Puthoff. Thank you. Indeed, it's Hal Puthoff. And as you can see below, we're taking a hiatus. I'm renovating the whole room. I've got new projects coming on that have nothing to do with this show. So remember to go to genxonx.com. You can subscribe there, listen to the archives of shows. Maybe I have some little mini clips and documentaries I'll try to put out. I don't know if I'll be, because this room's going to be torn apart. We are going to be doing an intermission, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Everybody, that's the end of the first part of our podcast this week. You can check part 2 out, where podcaster Bill Dozer comes on and we talk a whole bunch of politics, from Palantir to Glenn Greenwald, what's going on with Trump, Singularity. It goes all over the place, but it's a fun show. Check part 2 out. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in a few weeks.